Imagine spending your whole life building something you love, your passion, your pride, your dream, only for your own parents to demand you throw it all away to save your sister from the consequences of her own choices. That's exactly what happened to me. They demanded I sell my $1.5 million car collection to buy my unemployed sister a house. But instead of giving in, I moved every single car overnight to a secret location. What happened next didn't just shock my family, it changed all of us forever. If you've ever been pressured by family to sacrifice your happiness for someone else, hit that like button right now. Subscribe for more powerful revenge stories that prove standing your ground isn't selfish, it's survival. And stick with me, because this story ends not with broken bridges, but with something far more satisfying. I grew up in a family where love felt conditional. On paper, I had 2 supportive parents and a younger sister named Clara. But if you scratched beneath the surface, you'd see the imbalance immediately. Clara was the baby, the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. And me? I was the responsible one, the fixer, the one expected to quietly carry the weight of the family. Even as kids, the difference was obvious. If Clara broke something, it was an accident. If I so much as raised my voice, it was disrespect. She was shielded, while I was scrutinized. Maybe that's why I poured myself into something no one could take from me, cars. My first love wasn't a person, it was an engine. I still remember being 16, standing in a neighbor's driveway, staring at this rusty old '67 Mustang that hadn't run in years. Everyone saw a piece of junk. I saw possibility. I worked 2 after-school jobs, saved every dollar, and bought that car. 4 months, my hands were always greasy, my fingernails permanently stained with oil. My parents would shake their heads and tell me I was wasting my time, while Clara laughed and said, "Why don't you just buy a normal car like everyone else?" But I kept going. The first time that engine roared back to life, it wasn't just a car starting, it was me. That moment defined me. Over the years, 1 car turned into 2, then 10, then 20. What started as a teenage obsession became a collection worth over $1.5 million. Every vehicle had a story. The '72 Porsche I restored with a mentor who became like a second father. The Ferrari I bought after landing my first big promotion. Each one was more than metal and rubber. It was a diary in steel and chrome. Meanwhile, Clara, well, she stayed Clara. No steady job, no real ambitions. Always finding herself. My parents continued to coddle her well into adulthood, covering her bills, her rent, even her groceries. She was in her 30s and still leaned on them for everything. And yet, despite everything I built, everything I sacrificed to create this life, in their eyes, I was still second to Clara. I didn't realize how far that favoritism went, until the day they sat me down and demanded I give up everything I'd built for her. It started with what my parents called a family meeting. That phrase alone made my stomach turn, because in my family meeting never meant discussion. It meant they'd already decided something, and I was expected to agree. We were sitting around the dining table. The same table where I'd eaten countless meals in silence while Clara's stories, her dramas, her failures, were treated like world events. I noticed right away that my sister looked smug, almost excited, like she'd been waiting for this moment. My mom cleared her throat. "Alva, your father and I have been talking, and we need to discuss something important about Clara's future." My heart sank. Here we go. Dad leaned forward, clasping his hands like he was about to deliver some profound truth. "Your sister needs stability. She can't keep renting apartments forever. She deserves a home of her own." Clara chimed in without missing a beat, her voice dripping with entitlement. "Yeah, I'm almost 33, and honestly, it's embarrassing I don't even have a house yet. I think it's time I settle down." I waited for the part where they told her to get a job, to save up, to take responsibility. But instead, my mom's eyes locked on me. "And that's where you come in, Alva." I blinked. "Me?" Dad gave this exasperated sigh, like I should have already known. "You have that car collection. Millions of dollars just sitting in a garage. You can't even drive them all. If you sold just a few, you could buy Clara a house outright. She needs it more than you need all those cars." I felt the air leave my lungs. For a second, I thought I misheard. But then Clara leaned back in her chair, smirking. "It's not like you'd even notice they are gone. You've had your fun, Alva. Now it's my turn." My blood ran hot. The audacity, the sheer entitlement. "Wait," I said slowly, trying to keep my voice steady. You want me to sell my collection, the thing I've spent half my life building, so Clara can have a house she didn't earn.
Mom's lips pressed into a thin line. Don't be selfish.
You've always had everything together. You have a good job, financial security, and those toys.
She said toys, like the cars were meaningless trinkets.
Clara needs this more than you do. Dad added, think of it as an investment in family. Isn't that more important than material possessions?
Inside, my chest was pounding. My palms were slick.
A part of me wanted to scream, to flip the table.
But another part just broke.
Because in that moment, I realized something that had probably been true all along. To them, I wasn't their daughter with dreams, with passion. I was their safety net.
Their fixer. Their ATM. And Clara? She wasn't asking. She was expecting.
She leaned forward, resting her chin on her hand.
So?
When do you think you can start listing them? I looked at her, at both of them, and something inside me snapped. I didn't say it then, but in that moment, I made a silent promise, they will never touch what's mine.
Not now, not ever. That night, I couldn't sleep.
I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, replaying the conversation over and over. My parents' words burned in my ears. Don't be selfish.
Think of family.
Clara needs this more than you. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Clara's smug smile, the way she leaned back in her chair as if my life's work was already hers. My chest felt heavy. Anger pulsed in waves, sharp, hot, then hollow. But underneath the fury was something worse, grief.
Because they didn't see what those cars meant.
To them, it was toys, metal, excess.
But to me,
each car was a timeline, a diary carved in steel and chrome. The Mustang I rebuilt when I was just a broke teenager, spending weekends covered in oil because I believed in myself when nobody else did. The Porsche I restored after my first real heartbreak, turning wrench after wrench to drown out the ache. The Ferrari I bought with trembling hands the day I landed the promotion that proved I wasn't a failure.
They weren't cars.
They were me. And my parents, my own family, wanted me to throw them away like they were nothing.
I got up. My feet hit the cold hardwood floor.
For a moment, I stood frozen in the dark, listening to the faint hum of the fridge downstairs, the house quiet except for my pounding heartbeat. Then I whispered to myself, no.
Never.
They will not take this from me. I grabbed my phone and scrolled to a number I hadn't used in a while, an old friend, Jake, who owned a private storage facility outside the city. He picked up groggy, his voice thick with sleep. Alva?
It's midnight.
What's wrong? My voice shook at first, then steadied. I need to move everything.
All the cars.
Tonight.
There was a pause. Then a soft chuckle.
Family trouble.
I swallowed hard.
The worst kind.
Within an hour, I was in the garage.
The fluorescent lights buzzed faintly above, casting long shadows across rows of gleaming cars. The air smelled of leather, gasoline, and motor oil, the scent of home. I ran my hand along the hood of the Mustang, the first one, whispering like it could hear me, "Don't worry. I'll protect you." One by one, we moved them. Engines roared to life in the silence of the night, headlights cutting through the darkness as if the cars themselves were eager to escape. My heart pounded with every mile we put between them and my parents' house. By dawn, the garage was empty.
Hollow. Silent.
I stood in the middle of it, staring at the bare concrete floor where my life had once sat in shining rows. And for the first time in years, I felt powerful. Because I'd taken back control. The next time my parents and Clara came storming in, expecting to claim their prize, all they would find was four walls and silence.
And I couldn't wait to see their faces.
The very next evening, I heard the familiar sound of my parents' car crunching into the driveway, followed by Clara's shrill voice echoing through the hallway. "Alva, open the garage, I want to see what I'm working with." I froze for a second in the kitchen, coffee mug in hand. My lips curled into the faintest smile. "Oh, Clara.
You're in for a surprise."
Mom barged in first, eyes sharp, her tone already scolding.
"Why are the doors locked?"
"You know we agreed we'd start looking at which cars to sell."
I didn't answer.
Instead, I slowly walked them to the garage, letting the silence stretch until it was almost unbearable. Clara was practically bouncing on her heels, grinning like a child about to open Christmas presents. And then, click,
the door swung open. Silence.
The garage that once gleamed with polished chrome and vibrant paint was now an echo chamber of emptiness.
Bare concrete. Empty shelves.
Nothing but the faint smell of motor oil lingering like a ghost.
Clara's smile collapsed instantly. What is this?
Where are they?
Dad's face turned beet red. His voice thundered.
Alva, what the hell have you done? Mom gasped, clutching her chest as though I'd committed some kind of crime.
You moved them?
Without telling us. I leaned against the door frame, arms crossed, and for the first time in years, I felt calm.
Powerful.
They are safe. And that's all you need to know.
Clara's voice cracked as she stomped her foot like a teenager.
This isn't funny.
You ruined everything.
I was finally going to have a house, and now? I cut her off, my voice sharp, steady.
No, Clara. You weren't going to have a house. You were going to take mine.
The difference is, I earned every car in that collection. Every late night, every scraped knuckle, every dollar I saved.
You've earned nothing.
And I will not throw away my life's work because you're too comfortable to stand on your own 2 feet. For a moment, no one spoke. The weight of my words hung heavy in the empty garage. Dad broke first, jabbing a finger at me. This is unacceptable. Families sacrifice for each other. We raised you, we fed you, we gave you everything. I shot him a look that made him falter mid-sentence. And I'm grateful. But that doesn't mean you get to own me. Or my future.
Clara's face twisted, her voice shrill. You're so selfish.
I can't believe you'd choose a bunch of stupid cars over your own sister. I leaned closer, locking eyes with her.
They are not stupid cars.
They are my passion, my blood, my history. And you know what, Clara? The real selfishness is expecting me to throw all of that away just because you don't want to grow up.
Her jaw dropped.
For once in her life, Clara was speechless. Mom sputtered, trying to regain control. Alva, please, think this through. What will people say when they find out you refuse to help your own sister? I let out a short, bitter laugh. They'll probably say what I've been screaming in my head for years, that maybe it's time Clara learns to help herself.
The silence that followed was deafening. Clara's face went pale. Dad looked like he might explode.
Mom shook her head in disbelief. But I felt something I hadn't felt in years.
Freedom.
Because in that moment, the balance of power shifted.
For the first time, I wasn't their scapegoat. I wasn't their fixer.
I wasn't their ATM. I was me.
And they couldn't stand it.
The days after that showdown were exhausting.
My phone buzzed nonstop. Missed calls from Mom.
Voicemails from Dad. Long, angry text messages from Clara that swung between insults and begging. At first, it was fury.
Clara, you're heartless.
I can't believe I wasted my life having a sister like you.
Then it shifted to guilt.
Mom's voice message, soft and dripping with disappointment. Alva, honey, you're tearing this family apart. Do you really want your sister to struggle when you have the power to make it right?
Then, manipulation disguised as love.
Dad called one night, his voice stern.
You think this makes you strong? It just makes you selfish. Families sacrifice. That's what we taught you.
Clara's your blood. Doesn't that mean anything? Every word was designed to stab me where it hurt most, my sense of loyalty, my longing for approval. But every time I felt my resolve waver, I remembered that empty garage. The silence. The freedom. I whispered to myself, no one is taking this from me again. Still, Clara didn't let up. She showed up at my house once, pounding on the door until the neighbors peeked out their windows. When I finally opened it, she burst in with tears streaming down her face. You don't get it, Alva.
I've always been behind you.
You had everything, good grades, good jobs, recognition from Mom and Dad.
And me? I had nothing.
Don't I deserve this one thing? Her words were sharp, desperate. But I noticed something in her eyes, a flicker of fear.
Not fear of losing me.
Fear of losing the safety net she thought was permanent. I took a deep breath, forcing my voice steady. Clara, I don't care how much you scream, cry, or beg. I won't do it. If you want a house, you earn it. Like the rest of us. She froze, stunned by the finality in my voice. Then, her face twisted in anger.
Fine. Don't help me.
But don't come crawling to me when you need family.
She stormed out, slamming the door so hard the frame rattled.
But here's the truth. She wasn't cutting me off. She was cutting herself off from the only person who'd ever told her the truth. Over the next few weeks, the silence grew. My parents gave me the cold shoulder, their disappointment dripping from every short, clipped phone call. Clara sulked online, posting vague messages about betrayal and toxic family. But while they sulked, I worked. I spent more time at Jake's facility, maintaining the cars, reminding myself why I fought so hard to protect them. Each gleaming hood, each polished wheel was a reminder. This is mine. I built this,
and no one can take it away.
And slowly, as the weeks stretched into months, something unexpected began to shift.
Clara stopped calling.
The angry texts stopped. Mom's guilt trips grew less frequent. And in the silence that followed, something started to change. At first, I thought Clara would just keep sulking forever. She'd always had Mom and Dad to fall back on, always had someone cleaning up her messes. But something strange happened this time. They didn't step in the way they usually did.
Maybe they were tired.
Maybe deep down they knew I was right. Whatever the reason, they let Clara flounder.
And flounder she did. Her online rants dried up.
The passive-aggressive family betrayal posts disappeared. The angry texts never came back.
It was like she'd gone silent.
Then one evening, I got a text from Jake, the guy who owned the storage facility where my cars were.
It was short, just one line.
"You'll never believe who I saw today." He sent a photo. Clara, in a fast food uniform, hair tied back, face pale with exhaustion, standing behind a counter with a headset on. I blinked at the picture for a long time.
Clara, working.
Really working. At first, I didn't believe it.
Maybe it was temporary.
Maybe it was some punishment job, something she'd quit after a week.
But weeks passed.
Then months.
And she didn't quit.
She worked doubles, sometimes back-to-back shifts. She stopped posting selfies and started looking humbled. It wasn't a magical transformation. There were still complaints, still calls to my parents when she was short on rent. But gradually, slowly, she stopped being the girl who thought the world owed her everything, and started becoming someone who could stand on her own. The real shock came one evening about 6 months later.
There was a knock on my door.
When I opened it,
Clara stood there. No makeup. No smugness.
Just tired eyes and a shaky smile.
She held out a grocery bag. Inside was a cheap bottle of wine and some takeout. "Peace offering," she mumbled.
We sat at my kitchen table in awkward silence for a while before she finally spoke. "You know, at first, I hated you.
I thought you were the worst sister in the world.
I told myself you were selfish, greedy, heartless. But the truth is, you were right."
Her voice cracked. I needed this.
I needed to hit bottom.
I needed someone to stop bailing me out.
And as much as I wanted to hate you, I think you saved me. I just stared at her, my throat tight, my chest heavy.
I never thought I'd hear those words from her.
Then, the kicker. I'm not there yet, but
I'm trying.
And I want you to know, I respect you now.
For standing your ground.
For not giving up your passion, even when everyone told you to. That moment, it wasn't just Clara changing. It was me realizing that sometimes the most powerful revenge isn't about destroying someone, it's about forcing them to face themselves. Over the next few weeks, my parents softened too. They didn't exactly apologize, old habits die hard, but I could hear the shift in their tone.
Less guilt. Less blame.
A quiet acknowledgement that maybe, just maybe, I had done the right thing. And for the first time in years, when I looked at Clara, I didn't just see the spoiled little sister who took and took. I saw a woman trying, finally, to build something of her own. Revenge doesn't always look like fire and ashes. Sometimes, the sweetest revenge is silence, the kind where you simply live well, while the people who doubted you are forced to sit with the consequences of their own choices. For me, revenge was walking into my garage every morning, running my hands along the polished curves of my collection, and knowing every single car was still mine. Untouched. Untainted. Safe. It was hearing my parents' voices soften when they spoke to me, realizing they could no longer manipulate me with guilt because I had finally proven that my worth wasn't negotiable. It was seeing Clara, once spoiled, pampered, and reckless, now standing on her own 2 feet, paying her own bills, and slowly learning what responsibility really meant. That day she came over with takeout and wine, that was my moment of victory.
Not because she bowed to me.
Not because she begged for forgiveness. But because she admitted something I never thought she'd say, that I was right. For years, They painted me as selfish for protecting my passion. For years, they made me feel like my dreams should be sacrificed for Clara's comfort.
But in the end, my passion was what gave me power. My boundaries became my shield. And Clara?
She learned the hardest lesson of all. When you take without giving, life eventually stops handing you things on a silver platter.
So no, I didn't give away my collection. I didn't bow to pressure. I didn't let guilt strip away the thing I'd built with my own hands. Instead, I let time and reality deliver the revenge for me. Today, when I fire up the Mustang that started it all, I don't just hear an engine. I hear freedom. I hear strength. I hear the proof that sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying someone else, it's refusing to let them destroy you. And let me tell you, nothing in the world feels sweeter than that. At the end of the day, this story wasn't just about cars, or money, or even family pressure. It was about respect.
It was about realizing that love doesn't mean surrendering who you are, and family doesn't mean sacrificing your happiness on the altar of someone else's poor choices. By standing firm, I protected my passion, my sanity, and, in the end, I even helped my sister discover hers. Because real growth doesn't come from being rescued, it comes from being forced to face the road on your own. So maybe revenge didn't look like fireworks or shouting matches. Maybe it looked like me, sliding into the driver's seat of my Mustang, hearing the roar of the engine, and smiling, because I knew I had finally taken control of my life.
And honestly,
that's a kind of revenge no one can ever take away from me. Sometimes the best revenge isn't revenge at all. It's boundaries, respect, and the quiet satisfaction of watching others rise when you refuse to carry their weight. If this story gave you chills, smash that like button, subscribe for more stories just like this, and tell me in the comments.